All right, we are live and welcome into another TigerBait.com midweek show. We're on time tonight, a Thursday night, which has been rare during football season, as I couldn't find a game on a Thursday night game that had some recruits that I needed to get out and see tonight. But I think I'm going to be stacked up next week. I'm going on the road tomorrow. Might even be heading a long distance for a game tomorrow night. I'm debating multiple games right now to go out and see some of LSU's recruiting targets. This COVID thing really set us back at Tiger Bait. Usually by mid-October, I've gotten everybody I need, and then I can start doubling up on other kids and then maybe seeing some sleepers. And the thing about the month of September of a normal year, a normal high school season, is those non-district matchups that always have, if you pick the right games, you can have 3 or 4 prospects on the field, a couple on each side for each team. A lot of those games were not there. So usually by the time the playoffs get here, I'm almost done and got everybody I've wanted to see. And I can either double up and usually by the time it gets to the Superdome, I don't need any more film. I've got all I needed. So welcome in. Mike Scarborough here, TigerBait.com. Got a lot to talk about. Obviously, the burning question of the week is Sage Ryan, arguably the number one safety in the country from Lafayette Christian, 5'11", 195-pounder, does it all for Lafayette Christian, and he's going to announce his decision October 31st, Saturday, Nick Saban's birthday at noon. And when he tweeted that, it's really the way the whole process went down. Matthew Langlois, of course, from Catholic Point Capique, commits on Monday at noon. Had the story ready to go. We thought it was going to be at 6 o'clock Sunday evening. That got pushed to noon. I think maybe Orgeron wasn't available, and that's usually how they like to do things. But anyways, broke that news out at noon that Matthew Langlois, the safety from Catholic Point Capique, committed. And then when I'm looking at the board and I'm running the numbers and trying to figure out, okay, if some of these kids out of state fall to LSU for the rest of the class, and now LSU's with 19 commitments, 20 through 25, and like we do on TigerBait.com and on these chats, something's going to fall by the wayside. You're going to have a numbers problem. And so Sage Ryan, what is he waiting on? I'm reaching out to some folks in Lafayette to see what they can tell me. Sage is a lot like Brian Thomas, who's also out there twisting in the wind, says all the right things, knows what to say, not to say, doesn't do a whole lot of interviews, isn't a guy that's saying, look at me on Twitter all day with 100 tweets a day. He's just not that guy. So I reached out to a friend of mine that has a child at LCA. I'm talking and I'm like, what's he doing? What you hearing? Absolutely nothing. And I said, man, I wonder if LSU's going to start pushing for a commitment. And then, boom, not even 24 hours later, Tuesday afternoon, Sage tweets out he's going to announce on October 31st. Took me a while to remember that was Nick Saban's birthday. He had put out a top 3 a month or 2 ago, LSU, Alabama, Clemson. And we've had him in the probable category to LSU for so long. So now the buzz starts hitting, and of course I immediately put in my thread on Tiger Bait on our premium message board. I'm sticking with my prediction of LSU, and then all of a sudden, within 30 minutes, I'm having to delete that reply and pull that back because I started getting wind that no, it's Alabama. And it's been an amazing 24 hours. And last night at about 8:30, 8:45, I put in our Tiger Bait all day chat that hold on a minute, there's some movement here. And I do believe there's movement. I'm not ready to immediately flip it back to LSU, but I can tell you based on talking to people here in Baton Rouge, sources, and multiple, you guys know I resided in Lafayette for many years. A lot of folks there. And there's a high confidence level that it's LSU for Sage Ryan on Saturday. Initially, it was, are they just going to try and get him to delay, and then that'll basically give you an inkling of truly where it's heading? And does it necessarily have to be that he delays the process, which tells you that LSU's giving him something to think about? Or is it LSU is gotten back in it and is going to be the school, and he's still going to go ahead and announce Saturday at noon, which is what he's going to do. So I hope to have something more definitive tomorrow. Tune in to TigerBait.com. I'm working on a little something extra for tomorrow with Sage Ryan, and I hope to have that out midday, maybe sooner, and possibly with me putting my neck on the chopping block and making a definitive prediction about what I think he's going to do. But I can tell you that from when the LSU football team got off the practice fields Tuesday afternoon, which was probably about an hour after Sage tweeted out that he was going to announce, a lot of phone calls. A lot of phone calls with Sage Ryan, parents, Trev Falk sitting down with Sage Ryan calling other recruits, and it's going to be very interesting. We hadn't had some drama in a while in recruiting, and we've gotten some this week, so I think that kind of spiced things up a little bit. So we'll see how it goes. Blaine says, I don't believe we were taking 5, leave a spot for a transfer. Maybe so. I can get to 25, 26 easy, but maybe they do hold back one, which in some years that might not be a bad deal, but we'll see. When you start figuring in Brian Thomas at Walker, Tristan Lee, Corey Foreman, you've got Derek Davis, the safety from Monroeville, Pennsylvania, coming in to tour Baton Rouge, but that becomes a moot point if he's in town looking at the facilities on his own, if Sage Ryan says it's LSU at noon on Saturday. Mason Smith, Savion Bird from Duncanville, Texas, the offensive guard. So it's going to be very interesting. Some other things to clean up tonight. Of course, we're brought to you by Pride Roofing. I'm going to talk about them in a little bit. Trevez Moore has opted out, LSU's defensive end. So, boy, it's just the roster is getting thinner and thinner. Apu Ika, of course, entered the transfer portal. And Ed Orgeron talked about that tonight on his Zoom call with the media after practice. He also said on that Zoom call that, and what he said was he encourages Ika to find a school that runs a 3-4 that would better suit his talents as a nose guard. TJ Finley, of course, this weekend at Auburn. Ed Orgeron says that after talking to Jack Marucci and the training staff, he thinks that Miles Brennan will be 100% for Alabama. Boy, I tell you what, and that, of course, yeah. What do you do if you're Ed Orgeron if TJ Finley comes out throwing darts like he did against South Carolina, picks up right where he left off, has a similar box score, a similar stat line? How do you take the ball out of his hands? Even though Miles Brennan was a starter and the whole, quarterbacks don't lose their starting job with an injury. If TJ Finley is that hot hand and he goes on the road and does it at Jordan-Hare on national television, man, I don't envy Ed Orgeron with that decision. But he's also in a good spot because he's got two very capable quarterbacks. But boy, I know what it's going to be like on these chats, on our message boards, on talk radio, and the type of questions that Ed Orgeron's going to get. He won't do a presser on Monday because of the open date, but he'll have his coach's show and everything else. We're going to be curious to see how he handles that. LSU's getting 2 points at Auburn. The over and under is 65. What do you guys think? You taking the over? You taking the under? I like LSU in this football game, and all of a sudden, if LSU wins this one, you're again adjusting your one-loss record for LSU and your outlook for the whole season. Brian Annie Penton, good evening. Yes, good evening to you. Thanks for being with us. Blaine, thanks for being with us. You're always with us. Always glad to have you. Joseph Thaddeus Giot, Sage Ryan going to Alabama. I don't know if it's 50-50 right now, but I like everything that I've gotten as far as LSU. 8:33 right now, so I'll say in the last 24 hours. I like the trend of LSU right now. We'll see some more tomorrow. Blaine Smith, Trevor Lawrence has COVID. I was about to get to that, and is out on Saturday and that's their game against Boston College. LSU seems to be fading for all the big recruits. I don't see that. Henry Bennett. A lot of hand wringing in the chat yesterday, which that recap is still easy to find on Tiger Bait. We had a monumental day for new subscribers yesterday. Thanks to all of you who jumped on our $1 trial period. I think a lot of you wanted to get in the chat, and it's particularly with the Sage Ryan stuff. So appreciate all you guys who have subscribed to Tiger Bait. Jeremiah Phillips, Lafayette, yes. Esteban, there you are, my man. Go Tigers. Any recruits having second thoughts? I'm not seeing it. Scott Trahan, love the show. Glad you're here with us, Scott. I saw your post on the message board before I went live. So, yeah, we talked a good bit about Sage Ryan. Miles, no question, would start against Bama. If he struggles, then and then do you put Finley in? And that's what I'm getting at, Kevin Boudreau. I agree. You know, on one hand, look, you know, what's the team like though? Who do they want? Who are they most confident with? You know, you've already had some of the stuff go on this year, and does that cause even more issues on the team? You know, that's why I was kind of furious in our post-game show Saturday night with the way ESPN was really going overboard with talking about Miles Brennan in the transfer portal. That was absolutely ridiculous. Todd Marr watching Los Angeles. All right. Glad to have you. Dustin Gudo, 3 capable running backs, and we don't have a Wildcat to punch it in from the 1 yard line on 4 downs. That's something else. That's also what Ed Orgeron talked about tonight. Emery or Tyrion Davis-Price. Those two are both performing very well. LSU's offensive line has gotten better every week. I like Cam Wire in there in replace of Dari Rosenthal. That's one thing we can say about Coach Craig's offensive line. They get better as the season goes along. Ed Ingram's blowing out holes. I think Linehan's getting better every week, adjusting to the SEC. So I like the way that group is. Just like last year, it was a big question mark going into the season. Coming into this year, it was again. I want to talk about Pride Roofing, our corporate sponsor. They're the official roofing company of TigerBait.com. And look, we just got hit again with another storm last night. I talked to Mike Faraday. Him and Alex Martinez are on the road. Been very busy in Southeast Louisiana. And I just want to go through some of the things with them. Please give them a call. Free quotes, 225-275-2041. They're serving Slidell, New Orleans, home of Thibodaux. They've got over a dozen trucks in the area all day long. Pearl River, Hammond, Ponchatoula, any of you on the North Shore that suffered roof damage, they'll give free quotes. They are using the Xactimate software, which is the same software used by insurance companies as far as your adjusters on your roofs. If you suffered roof damage in the Lake Charles, Southwest Louisiana, he's still got crews there. He's covering all of South Louisiana from the Texas border to the Mississippi border with all these storms. And I couldn't believe the numbers of roofs that he's told me that they've been installing. They work directly with your insurance company. And please, please do me a favor. Tell them that you saw them on TigerBait.com's Facebook Live show. And we much appreciate it. If you think that you might be a year or two away from needing a new roof, at least get the quote from them. And please tell them that you heard about them on TigerBait.com. We just excellent people. Mike Faraday, of course, a local kid from Baton Rouge. I grew up in the same neighborhood as Sherwood Forest with him. Best friends with his younger brother. Grew up with him. Super family. And I love having sponsors that I know them, trust them, and I go back my entire life with that whole Faraday family. He's an LSU grad. Pride Roofing, the best warranty on labor in the roofing business in Louisiana, and I highly recommend them. Please give them a call, 225, let me see, yeah, there it is, 225-275-2041, and their link is also in the description. Check out prideroofing.com. Let me get to some more of your questions. I know a lot of you have a lot of recruiting tonight. When does Damone Clark get pulled? Brian Reinhardt wants to know. You know, we had that discussion last Saturday night. Preston is real high on Micah Baskerville, like a lot of people. I really like what we're seeing out of Jabril Cox. I think one of the problems you're having with the LSU defense, and I do think they're going to get, that group is getting better. They're going to get better every week. I think with that group is, look, they're going to give up some big plays. A lot of defenses in the SEC are giving up some big plays. Keep them to a minimum. Make that number get lower and lower every week as you go along. Get that defensive group playing better as the season goes. The offense keep clicking and doing what they're doing. And the running game, now that that's uncorked, really helps the passing game. Look, you've got to score a lot of points in the SEC, bottom line. Like Orgeron says, basketball on grass, and he's absolutely right. Make their guys punt more than your guy, and you be successful in the red zone, and LSU can get some more wins on this season. Scott Tron, I think going to the 4-3 was more difficult than we may have thought because it's a total different type of defensive line guy, no doubt. And I wonder, is that one of the things that maybe, that was why Les Miles went to the 3-4, was because it was so difficult to find the number of defensive linemen you needed, and not just your starting four to be as crackerjack as you want them to be, but then to have depth. And then if you have an injury, you're really in trouble. That's part of the reason why he went to a 3-4 was because, first of all, he didn't recruit that many of them, and he didn't do a very good job of it. But it's easier to recruit linebackers and tweeners than it is finding, a bunch of Glenn Dorseys and Marquise Hills and have those every year. The state doesn't produce them. The caveat on that is if Ed Orgeron and his staff continue the trend of recruiting so well nationally, and you're able to go out of state, and we'll see how it pans out with a guy like Corey Foreman and so forth, then you can get those type of defensive linemen. But if you're only going to be relegated to what the state of Louisiana produces, it might be difficult. And might we see in a couple of years where he says, you know what, might need to go back to a 3-4. I don't think he will do that. He likes the 4-3. That's where he was. That's been his whole career. He came into a 3-4 because of what was here with Les Miles. But at the same time, you can also say, well, how often are those guys in that alignment that it really matters anyways? There's usually a whole lot of extra defensive backs and an extra edge rusher brought into games anyways. Yeah, linebacker, Aaron Adams, no doubt. Aaron Adams Jr., there he is. Linebacker, that's the other part of it. If you look at LSU's defensive line and you say, we're the starters right now, the upperclassmen. I'm not talking about Jaquilin Roy. I hope to see more of Jacoby and Guillory coming in the future. But how many of those upperclassmen guys are early round draft picks? How many of the linebackers? I think Jabril Cox can be a high draft pick, but how many of those other guys are going to be high draft picks? You're not seeing it, or not even high draft picks. How many of those guys on your defensive front seven are candidates to be All SEC first team? How many are candidates to be All SEC second team? That's when you get into trouble. DBU is one thing, but your defensive front seven, that's a problem. Jim Milano, I worked with Tommy Faraday at Kroger's on Florida. There you go. I grew up with Tom, graduated Terra High School with Tom, and of course Mike's a few years older than me. Super folks. Let's see. Kevin Boudreau, learning a new system with new spring camp. Basically, no fall camp makes it even harder, no doubt. The attrition, the draft, the free agent signees, the opt-outs, Tyler Shelvin, Kerry Vincent opting out. Boy, they could have used Kerry Vincent this year. It's been a perfect storm as to why LSU's struggling, particularly on defense. Offensively, you can't ask for anything more, despite Jamar Chase opting out. I mean, what would this thing look like with Jamar Chase? Man. Let's see what else we got. Anybody else I need to get to? Yeah, look, I want to talk some more about recruiting. Talked about Matthew Langlois committing on Monday. And, of course, big news, and I'm excited about. You guys know how high I'm at. I've been on Walker Howard more than anybody else. And of course, since I've been on Walker Howard since he was a ninth grader, I've been seeing Jack Bech the whole time. And boy, that was exciting Saturday morning when he got the offer from Ed Orgeron. And all of you have seen him. You've seen him on TV. You've seen the highlight tapes. Jack Bech is absolutely fantastic. And look, there's one thing to talk about 40 times and this and that and who looks, all airport team or what do you want to call it? Jack Bech, period, is your top performing wide receiver in the state of Louisiana. I don't care what his ranking is. I don't care what his 40 time is. I know what I see on a football field against very good elite competition. Again, a lot of you tuned into that Catholic High game several weeks ago, and he did not disappoint, did he? Dale Broussard, COVID and weed hurt this team. Yes, the wacky tobacco, as Nick Saban called it back in the day. I always loved that reference. But the wacky tobacco at LSU is one thing. But you notice how no other school in the SEC has that problem, do you? When you have kids that are all of a sudden, they're not hurt, but they're having to miss several football games. They only miss games at LSU. Nowhere else in the SEC do they miss games, do they? That's a problem. I'm not getting into whether you think weed should be legal. That's not the point. It is illegal. And it is an NCAA banned substance and you can get tested for it. But all the other schools have kids smoking pot when they're not supposed to and testing positive, but they don't miss football games. Hate we are losing that depth. We are one bad case of COVID. The one thing about the depth and the low numbers on the roster right now is when you saw the story last week that LSU is going to lose 8 scholarships because of the Our Lady of the Lake and the embezzlement of the money and all that. That's for the 85. Well, you're already under. So, but where LSU can get in trouble is the APR. And I think the NCAA, what did we see a tweet 2 days ago? I think they're going to adjust the APR. But LSU can be in serious trouble with the APR because of the transfers, the opt-outs, the early draftees. You've got to have so many guys on a trajectory to graduation. You have to have so many guys graduate. You have to have a grade point average. Each one of those little categories has points. And LSU is in danger right now with the APR. So let's say the NCAA takes those 8 scholarships and accepts what LSU's self-imposed, but you can have an APR hit that could come your way if the NCAA doesn't make adjustments. Aaron Adams, exactly, only at LSU. And look, man, that whole marijuana thing, I'm sure a lot of you like me have seen the HBO shows where you've got all these football players. Look, when you've got 6'4", 250-pound guys running 4.5s, they used to say that's equivalent to every time there's a collision on a football field in college or pro football, that's equivalent of a 65-mile-an-hour car crash. I bet you that mile per hour is probably even more now. These guys are getting bigger and stronger. And so I think at some point, I don't know if it's going to be in a decade, I don't know if it's going to be in 20 years, and I'm not a guy who ever liked weed, but I'd much rather have football players having medicinal marijuana or using that than having opiates handed to them prescription-wise because of injuries and those brutal hits that they take on a football field. We already see it in the NFL. I'm a believer in that stuff. Give them the stuff that takes the THC out of it. You guys know the science better than me. Let's see what else we got. Has the NCAA accepted the 8 drop? No, not yet. Rhett Butler, I just tuned in. Did you update on Sage Ryan yet? Yeah, I'll go ahead and repeat it. I really like the trend in the last 24 hours on everything that I'm gathering from my sources in Lafayette, my sources in the program. I'm not ready to go in there and immediately say it right now that it's LSU, but I like what I'm hearing. And I may go ahead and, like I said earlier, stick my head under the guillotine and make a bold prediction tomorrow morning or midday and let the chips fall where they may. I just want a little bit more information. I might have it by this evening, and I'll have that on tigerbait.com subscribe to Tiger Bait, please, for $1. We want to have you. And like I always say, choose the annual package for $99 over the $10.95 a month. You basically get 3 months free when you do that. And the spouse isn't going to go ballistic every month because you're getting billed for that every month. Once a year, just like Amazon and Costco and Sam's Club and all them do it. That's the best way to do it. Esteban, is there a deadline for the acceptance of the 8? I don't know what... that's a good question. I'm going to try and find that out, and I might have that for you in the next chat. Let's see what else I need to get. Jim Milano, just want to say hello again. Arlington, Virginia, enjoy the show. Glad to have you guys. By the way, please, I keep saying please on a lot of things. Go to our YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button and notification bell. We're loading up free video up there all week long. All the player interviews. We got our Video Vault series. I did Will Clapp a few days ago. I've got Traven Doral from Bro Bridge. And I think I've got more Leonard Fournette. I've got some really unique stuff. I think I'm even going to load up some prospect video of some of the guys that LSU didn't get. But I'm in the 2012 to 2014 range right now. I've got over, in the last decade, we've shot over 1,200 prospect videos at tigerbait.com. So you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All that stuff that was premium, that was on Tiger Bait Premium in 2012, 2013. Now you get to see what it all looked like for free on YouTube, and there's a playlist on our YouTube channel. Go to YouTube, type in tigerbait.com, and you'll find us real easy. Garrett, thanks for doing this weekly show. Thank you. Preston did his last night. We'll be live after the LSU game, Auburn game Saturday evening. I'm guessing by the time we get everything loaded on the site, our stories, our analysis, all the post-game video, might be around 8:30 tops. We're really going to push the envelope. I want to get these going a little bit earlier, particularly when it's a 7 o'clock kickoff. Getting these things started 11:30 is late, but that's the nature. We need to get everything up on the site before we start talking post-game stories and so forth. Let's see what else I got. I tell you what, that's it. Stay tuned to tigerbait.com tomorrow. Subscribe. We'll have text alerts as soon as Sage Ryan makes his decision on Saturday. As a subscriber, you get a premium text alert to your cell phone. Anytime there's breaking news, if you sign up for our text alerts, you'll get that sent to your cell phone. We don't spam. It's only the big stuff that we send to your phone. Commitments, someone opting out, a serious injury, or something very, very notable. That's the only stuff that we ever send on our text alerts. Sign up for the free newsletter. Even if you don't want to subscribe, if you just go register, you'll get our newsletter, which we send out twice a week. Go to tigerbait.com and get that. So tomorrow, I'm going to do another Sage Ryan update. I hope to have that tomorrow with more info. I think I'm going to have that in a prediction. I'll be at a high school game tomorrow night. Not sure which one. I'll probably go live in pregame like I always do and give you a little snippet of what we're looking at and who we're looking at. Post-game Saturday, Sage Ryan commitment announcement on Saturday. So it's going to be a very, very busy weekend at tigerbait.com. And we'll see y'all then. Thanks for being with us. Good night.